Hi, everybody. Old guy here. I don't know how many short stories I have read in my life. It's definitely well over the number of books that I've read. And calculating that, say, using 8 years old as a starting point, 5 to 10 books a month, say, for 60 years, time off for good behavior. Let's say maybe 7,000 to 8,000 books. Well, I definitely read a lot more stories than books, as have you, because stories are how we started. We had Dick and Jane, careful, Dr. Seuss, fairy tales, and on from there. And I especially read a lot of stories because my dad built a room over the garage, and that became my bedroom. It was also the place that he stored his bootleg muscadine wine and his Playboys. Never had any trouble going to bed. Because of the stories, of course. I mean, Playboy published a lot of excellent stories, and I read them, all of them, cover to cover. So out of all these stories over the decades, some of them still remain with me. I can even make a reference to them every once in a while in conversations where absolutely nobody has any idea what I'm talking about, which is normal. It'll be a scene or some kind of theme or something like a line that makes me remember these stories years later, such as number 10, The Lonesome Place by August Derleth. This was published in 1962. Now, Derleth was a prodigious writer and editor. He started Arkham House Publishing, or was one of the people who helped start it. And he came up with the term Cthulhu mythos to categorize the work of his friend H.P. Lovecraft. In this story, two boys conjure up a monster living in an abandoned silo near their home just so they can scare each other when they're walking home at night. After they grow up, a young boy is mauled near the silo, and the two are convinced their imagination actually conjured the monster. Number 9, The Great Nebraska Sea by Alan Danzig. Published in 1963. Now, I can't find a lot on Danzig. He appears to have been an infrequent contributor to Galaxy magazine, and in fact wrote a lot more reviews of other people's books than his own stories. And I believe that I read this in Galaxy, but not in 1963. I mean, I was far too young to read something like this back then. So probably in a later Galaxy anthology. In the story, a series of faults in the Midwest drops the west coast of the U.S. into the ocean. It reads more like a history article than anything, but what I remember the most about it is the closing scene of sailors strolling the seaports of Wyoming and Missouri. Number 8, Passengers by Robert Silverberg. Silverberg, of course, writer and editor extraordinaire. I mean, he even wrote soft porn at one time. But this is a brutal story of an alien presence that randomly seizes the minds of people and makes them do unspeakable things. The ending is just chilling. Number 7, Inconstant Moon by Larry Niven. It's written in 1971. Now, Niven wrote Ringworld, and with Jerry Pournelle has turned out a goodly collection of science fiction novels like The Mote in God's Eye. In this story, people are amazed by how bright the full moon goes one night. It's just brilliant, until somebody realizes the sun has gone nova, and they've only got until the earth turns back into the sunlight to live. Number 6, The 9 Billion Names for God by Arthur C. Clarke, written in 1953. Of course, Clarke, the Grand Master. In this one, an Eastern religious sect believes that if they transcribe the 9 billion names for God, then the universe will end. They purchase a computer to assist them in this, and the two installers scoff at the whole concept. Until the last sentence. Number 5, Examination Day, written by Henry Slesar in 1958. And I definitely read this one in Playboy. I did, I read it. I actually read. Slesar was a prolific story writer and copy editor who used dozens of pseudonyms, and he supposedly coined the term coffee break. In some bleak dystopian future, a kid is getting ready to take mandatory state exams and is urged by his mother to not study so hard for them. You'll soon see why. Number 4, The Crooked Man by Charles Beaumont. Beaumont wrote short stories and television episodes and full-length movies like The Seven Faces of Dr. Lao. And this, after dropping out of school in 10th grade and joining the Army during the closing days of World War II. He had a lot of influence on other writers like Ray Bradbury and William Nolan. In the future, heterosexuality has been outlawed, and those attracted to the opposite sex have to meet furtively or risk internment in a concentration camp, where they will make a new man out of you. Number 3, All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury. I have dozens and dozens of favorite Bradbury stories because he was my favorite author growing up. But this one stands out. On Venus, it constantly rains, but once every 7 years, the sun appears for 2 hours, and a class of elementary students are preparing to go outside and see this. Ah, the cruelty of children. Number 2, A Pail of Air by Fritz Leiber. Written in 1951. I'm pretty sure I read this one in a science fiction book club anthology that they would send out once a year to members, and yes, I was a member for a while. The world has frozen, and the only way to breathe is to go outside and fetch a pail of air and dissolve it slowly over a fire. And number 1, It's a Good Life by Jerome Bixby, written in 1953. Known more for his script writing, like 4 episodes of Star Trek, this is Bixby's best remembered short story, one that was turned into a Twilight Zone episode and even into a Treehouse of Horror episode. When little Anthony was born, the doctor screamed and tried to kill him. But Anthony whisked the town away somewhere, don't know where. Maybe he destroyed the rest of the world, we don't know. And all of the townspeople are now his playmates, even if they don't want to be. Now there's another story that I remember that I really liked, but for the life of me, I cannot remember its title. It's set in a dystopia. People are going back and forth to work when an old man starts reminiscing about the better days in the past, causing the workers to stop and listen. So a SWAT unit is sent out to find and arrest him because nostalgia is against the law. If any of you can remember the name of this story, throw it in the comments. I will be grateful. But that's it for now. I mean, I could probably do about 10 more videos just on short stories alone. But not today.